everyone, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on YouTube.com, and maybe some other areas down the line. Due to, having another job, an actual job and everything on that sense, I kind of just sticking to this to YouTube side, and also doing it as a live stream as well to go along with it. And then the video goes up a little bit later on. So that's kind of a little bit of how things really work around here. So the other things that we typically do on this side, if anybody is going to be new tuning into this in any way, shape, or form, I typically talk about Raw, Smackdown, and NXT throughout the week. Plus, now since I'm doing it as a one-shot deal, I'm kind of throwing some news out there as well. I kind of give my opinions on the show, how they went, everything on that side, and where everything was going. So, and we will do other, video reviews for other things. I had just done my first New Japan show with Wrestle Kingdom 12 on that side, and gave my opinions out on that one. And we'll probably continue a little bit more on that with more of the shows that I get to watch down the line on that side of everything. So, with that being said, let's get into this week, basically on the WWE side of everything. We're going to stick to Raw, NXT, and Smackdown this week. We're not going to add Impact in there. Haven't had a chance to watch that yet, so we are doing this on a Friday night. As a matter of fact, some new stuff has come out throughout this week as well. Before we get into Raw, we'll go ahead and get one piece of the news out of the way. Unfortunately, a lot of the news ends out not being all that great. I'll talk a little bit more about another piece of news during the Raw recap, but this one's not that bad. It's a little bit saddening because he didn't really get a farewell, but it came out earlier today that Mark Henry is pretty much considered retired, and honestly, we pretty much have kind of figured that out at this point in time, that he's, kind of just retired, not actually wrestling or doing anything. He's still under contract with the WWE, but he's pretty much considered a retired wrestler. He'll make appearances, but he's not going to be in any kind of wrestling form. So it kind of came out this week that he just did it without fanfare, which is very unfortunate. I wish he would have been able to get some a little bit of extra fanfare out of it, because he had a very long career. I know he was plagued with injuries during a good chunk of that period of time, but overall, I felt like, he had himself a pretty successful career within the company during the time that he had been there. Probably his Hall of Pain stuff that he had done back in 2011 was probably his best stuff, where, he had been around for an extended period of time. They gave him a run with a World Heavyweight title. His promos were a lot better now. Also, he had that infamous promo where he was retiring, but he fakes out John Cena in order to get a WWE title shot. I thought that was some very good stuff, and he had done some, pretty decent things. He's had some comedy bits in there. He's had the stuff in his early career with the whole sexual chocolate thing, the bit with Mae Young where she gave birth to a hand, everything on that side. But he had also been part of the Nation of Domination. Had a good team going with D'Lo Brown as well inside of there. Hasn't really done much over the past number of years outside of kind of being, kind of fodder to newer stars and everything on that side. But yeah, it seems like he is retired. I'm assuming he's much happier on that side now than he probably was over the past few years, as Teddy Hart is in here. Teddy, now he's changed his name again. Now he is Teddy Too Stoned Hart. I was just pulling that up. Matter of fact, I was going through a little bit of news, and I'll talk about what you just said in there a little bit later on. Teddy, he basically had asked what had happened with Paige. And matter of fact, you know what? Since we're here now, since we are here now, let's go ahead and talk about that before we get into Raw. And I can talk about that one in a little bit as well. We can get into a little bit of Impact news, even though I haven't watched it, but that's a spoiler. The thing, what he wants me to talk about is a spoiler, and I don't really want to give out spoilers on that side of everything towards other people. But there is a return coming to Impact Wrestling, and he's winning their title very soon. If you know who it is, then you probably read the spoilers. If you don't know who it is, I'll leave it be on that side. But let's talk about Paige briefly before we get into Raw, because it is now being reported. Now, for people who didn't know, Paige had a recent injury at one of the house shows where she took a bump from, she had taken a face-first bump when Sasha Banks kicked her in the back during one of the six-woman tag matches that they were having at the house shows. During that particular bump, she ended out, the referee ended up having to throw up the X sign, which meant for real injury, everything on that side. And there was a video that got around where it was showing that she had no control over, you know, potential limbs, everything on that side. A stretcher got pulled out on it to go along with it. She did end up walking out under her own power, which initially people were thinking is like, okay, she got a stinger. Now for other reference, for people, most people know this by now. She had neck surgery about, was it a year and a half ago? It was a long time ago that she ended up having neck surgery for her, not for a broken neck, but basically to fix the damage that had been there at that period of time. No problem telling you how. I just don't give out spoilers. That's on that one. But it turned out that, you know, it ended up being a lot more than just a stinger to her, and it could be something potentially more serious on the side of, well, basically on the side of what caused Edge and Stone Cold Steve Austin to retire from wrestling. Basically, there is some more damage that could potentially be done to her neck at this point in time, and WWE will not clear her. So she is forced to retire from a WWE ring at this point in time. At least that's the rumor that is going around. That hasn't been fully announced in any way, shape, or form. Maybe we hear something Monday night. But the report came from PW Insider. I got it on WrestleZone. Basically, they had confirmed from multiple sources that due to her recent injury, that WWE doctors will not clear her to return to the in-ring performing. So basically, she'll be under contract, but her appearances will more than likely not be in wrestling fashion. And as you have probably seen over the last couple weeks, she really hasn't been doing anything. Now, granted, they probably weren't going to be taking any chances with her just the weekend after her injuries the injury that she had gotten. So the week before, they had cut a promo announcing that she would be inside the Royal Rumble, thinking that, and it was probably them just thinking, it's like, okay, it was a stinger, she'll be cleared in time for the Women's Royal Rumble match. That's not going to be the case now. Basically, the things that they had noted in here, that she will be she'll be retiring from in-ring, doesn't mean she's going to be gone. So maybe she's going to be the manager of Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville down the line here, or something on that side. But also, they basically said on here for a breakdown of the recent the recent portions of her injury. Paige got informed of the decision earlier this week. So it just happened this week, and if you had seen everything from Monday night, she really didn't do much of anything as well to go along with it. It was a tag match with Sasha Banks and Bayley going up against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I'll talk about that one in a little bit here on that side of everything. But initially, it appeared that she had received a stinger inside of the six-woman tag match on a December 28th house show. Apparently, that's where she fell to the ground. She had, had to get medical attention, everything on that side. Apparently, it's much worse than that. Or it could even be just due to the stinger in general. They don't want to risk it. But what I had also mentioned is that Due to that stinger, she could not feel her extremities in any way, shape, or form to go along with it. So this is very serious on that side of everything. And this was stuff I was going to be talking about in there. And then the last note that they said was that they will be replacing her in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match. So she will not be doing that anymore as well, obviously, because she is not going to be doing any more wrestling on that side. And, yeah, it's very sad, especially with the year that she had. I'm getting my chat and everything back up here. To go along with it, going through other news sites. I've got like the articles and everything I want up, and I've got a couple other things to talk about as well throughout the show that might make me do things like that. But yeah, it's very unfortunate, especially with the last year she had with everything that she had done newsworthy wise. Wasn't necessarily all of the best. Most of it wasn't really. Wasn't very good. She had a very controversial year, and then she came back, and it looked like things were going well for her, and then this happens. Like I said, it's very unfortunate on her side, especially at a young age. She is only 25, and and believe that or not, she's been with the company for that many number of years. She's only 25 years old, but she is now going to have to probably retire from in-ring side. I'm assuming that they would keep her under contract and they can do things with her outside of just wrestling, but we'll see where they go with everything on that side. Very saddening to see that, but it's also kind of one of those for the best things, because if they don't, it just shows that they're potentially putting the person before, trying to get them out there, and it's like just trying to get another quick dollar out of them on that side. They're going to put the person first instead of putting what they could make out of their money to go along with it on that side of everything. So it's good to see that they're not going to take any chances, but it's also one of those things, like, it's sad to see a career end so soon on that side, because she did have a lot of promise when coming up from the NXT side, from FCW and everything on that side. And yeah, it's one of those things, like I said, it's sad to see. You don't want to see people get injured and forced to retire at early ages. We've seen it plenty of times. And you just wish that it doesn't happen, but it's also one of those things that, they say it's sports entertainment, but they put their bodies through a lot to entertain the people out there, and things like this happen from time to time, unfortunately, to go along with it. So, now that we've gotten those two pieces of news out of the way, let's get into it. Let's get into Monday Night Raw for January 8th, 2018. The show starts off with Roman Reigns, basically cutting a promo on his match with Joe from the week before, and basically just kind of going over like the importance of him winning and everything to go along with it on that side. This does prompt out Jason Jordan to come out, kind of interrupting, Roman Reigns' moment, everything on that side. He basically talks to Roman and wants to do a Shield fist bump, saying is like, oh, I could be an honorary member of the Shield, everything. I won't be Dean Ambrose, but, he'll be pretty good. Rollins comes out, and he basically is like, okay, last week you learned your lesson good, but it's time for another lesson. It's basically timing, because this is supposed to be Roman's moment. It's like, and he's going like, no, it's all of our moments here. We all had issues with Samoa Joe, everything on that side. And he calls themselves like the most dominant trio in the entire company. This prompts out, and it's just shocking that they're just fully going with this now. They bring out Balor Club. So Finn Balor, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows come out. Yes, and Finn Balor looks like he is having the time of his life. He just has a giant grin on his face the entire time. And they basically come out there cutting a promo saying it's like, oh, you're the most dominant trio, but we feel like we are. We're Balor Club. And Jordan's just like, oh, Balor Club? We're the Champions Club. And you just see Rollins and Reigns just like, oh my god. Just one of those disapproval moments, just like, oh no. Eventually, Finn Balor and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows basically run down Jason Jordan and the other two to a certain degree. Eventually, Jordan gets fired up, and he has to be held back by Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. This brings out Kurt Angle to make a 6-man tag match. Decent enough segment. Honestly, I found a good chunk of Raw to be pretty good throughout the entire throughout this entire week here on that side of everything. I won't lie, I thought it was pretty good to go along with. But yeah, this segment was pretty good. Interesting enough stuff where they're going with Jason Jordan and how he's basically, you know, being overconfident at all times. He's being very amped up, and he's coming off heelish, even though he's technically still a babyface. So you're seeing the heel turn slowly but surely coming along, and I'm actually enjoying it a little bit more now. This brings us to the Sasha Banks-Bayley match going up against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Like we had mentioned before, you had Mickie James and Paige out there. They didn't really do much in this match. This was a decent enough match, which did see Sasha Banks and Bayley winning when Bayley takes Sonya Deville out on the outside, and then Sasha Banks locks in the bank statement to Mandy Rose, making her tap out. So I think it's Absolution's first loss. It might be their first loss since they had come up over a month ago on that side of everything. I'm not 100% certain on that though. It might be their first loss. I'm not 100% certain on that. But yeah, decent enough match. Basically, they were kind of putting the whole dissension side, or basically, you know, giving narrative of like how they're teaming up tonight, but how are these people going to interact with each other when it comes to the Women's Royal Rumble match? So let's talk about that a little bit more here now as well. With that Women's Royal Rumble match. So this is how it's going right now. As of right now, Dana Brooke's been put in. That leaves us with 17 people. They say they're replacing Paige. So the rumor mill is that there are going to be 9 NXT women. 9 NXT women superstars that show up for this Women's Royal Rumble. So that's going to put them, if they replace Paige with someone else from the main roster, which you would kind of assume would be Alicia Fox at this point, who's not announced at this time, you're left with 26 or 27 women if they're really going with 9 NXT superstars to go along with that, which leaves you really only room for 3 or 4 surprise non main roster people to go along with this, and it'll be interesting to see where that one goes off. There's rumors that Caitlyn's going to be there on that side of everything, but there's also the rumors of Ronda Rousey, Trish Stratus, Lita, amongst others to go along with it. I don't like, if they're really going with 9, you're leaving yourself with only real 3 or 4 surprises from outside of the main roster at this point, or not. I won't just say the main roster, but current WWE roster, which isn't a bad thing on that side. We'll go with it. We'll go ahead and say that it's not that bad, but it'll be interesting to see who the other surprise entrants will end up being at this point. But it also looks like we're not going to be getting any women's title matches on the pay-per-view itself as well. It seems like almost every other title, with the exception of the Intercontinental title, will be defended on that particular pay-per-view. So speaking of title matches, well, we do have Cedric Alexander going up against Enzo later on in the show. But right after the tag team match, we had a Cedric and Goldust backstage segment where Goldust is trying to fire up Cedric Alexander, but Cedric is like, And he's going in the whole Rocky trainer type feel and everything to go along with it. I liked what they were going with this. I like Goldust in this one. I like the interactions between Cedric Alexander and Goldust as well. It just looked like Cedric was getting a kick out of it to go along with it, which he himself is actually getting a little bit better on the mic when he's getting more time. He basically cuts a promo saying how he is already ready for this match. He's been born ready, everything on that side of everything. So it was a very entertaining segment, honestly. I personally did enjoy it on that side of everything here. So this brings us to a match, the debut match of Woken Matt Hardy. First of all, his new music is pretty good. I don't mind his new music. It was just interesting how he still had the Hardy Boys Titantron. Kind of took you out of it a little bit. But, you know, he was going out there doing the deletes, everything on that side. People kind of getting into it a little bit more. There's also a rumor that there is some, what is it? There's some filming being done at the Hardy compound. Matter of fact, a video just came up with Vanguard 1. So Vanguard 1's coming back at this point in time. And he had also apparently had a meeting with the guy who runs Anthem and Impact Wrestling. So basically, like, the Broken Universe, or everything that they did in the Broken Universe, is going to be coming to WWE's side of everything, and it'll be interesting to see how that one ends up playing out to go along with it. And will they be doing are we going to get to see more like pre-filmed segments with Hardy Compound, everything on that side? Will we be getting Queen Rebecca, and will we be getting King Maxwell? Does Rebby's father show back up as Senior Benjamin again? Obviously, we're getting Vanguard 1 to go along with it. It'll be interesting to see how they go along with this. Woken Matt basically had his match with Kurt Hawkins, and this was a squash match. This was pretty much a squash match. Matt Hardy going over relatively quickly in this one. I like how he stuck to the character that he had in Impact with the broken stuff. When Kurt Hawkins tried doing not a springboard, but he tried doing a crossbody off the second rope and misses, Matt Hardy calls him a spot monkey. Like he was calling the X Division guys over in Impact Wrestling. I like how he started using things like that. Is still keeping things like that in there. Like I said, Matt Hardy goes over with the Twist of Fate. Or are they going to just call it Control-Alt-Delete now? I don't know if they're going to call it that. But he won with the Twist of Fate. Bray Wyatt comes out, or should I say he teleports out. Lights go out, he appears in the ring. They basically have a laugh off again. Maybe it's because I just like cheesy and corny things, but I'm enjoying this. I enjoyed the Broken Matt stuff. And if we're going to get more of the the pre-film stuff from the Hardy compound, everything on that side, then I'm probably going to enjoy it even more. I watched all that stuff then. I enjoyed it then. I'll probably enjoy this for a good chunk of time, especially if they are coming up with new and inventive ways of doing things to go along with it. So we have Elias in the ring. He sings a song talking about Elvis, and he brings out The Miz. Honestly, Elias is really good. Elias, I really enjoyed this one. He was kind of soaking in the fact that, you know, he's doing the whole WWE stands for Walk with Elias, and the crowd starts chanting Walk with Elias, and he just goes off and says, like, see, now you guys are getting it. Now everyone's getting it. He sings the song about Memphis, and he brings out The Miz, and kind of just disappears after that. So you have Bo Dallas, you have Miz, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel coming out there, but Miz basically talks up everything, and he thanks Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel for keeping his keeping his name out there the entire time. Would not let them, you know, basically, or would not let the name disappear while he was gone. He kept it going. He thanks them for that. They thank him for everything that he'd done, and he talks about how he turned their careers around. They start bickering like little kids, like giving them presents. It's like, oh, I gave you this. I'm giving you this. Like Curtis Axel takes his jacket off, and Miz has to play like dad to get them to stop bickering, and getting them back to sitting down over there. I thought it was some pretty good stuff. And then he cuts a good promo afterwards on wanting to get the IC title back and how he was going to get that from Roman Reigns. A good segment here. Good return segment from The Miz and everybody on this side. I thought it was really good. So, this leads us to Balor Club backstage, and they're basically talking. They basically talk. It was like, it's like the more things have changed, the more they stay the same. So like they had talked about everybody they had been around. So they start talking about Fale and a bunch of other Bullet Club members, without actually mentioning Bullet Club. To go along with it, on that side of everything. So I thought the segment was nice. It was a nice little nod to like their past and everything to go along with it, and it was a nice little thing that they put in there on that side of everything. So next we had Enzo Amore going up against Cedric Alexander in a cruiserweight title match. This was a decent enough match. I liked what I kind of liked a little bit of back and forth. Cedric Alexander, very athletic, everything on that side. He's very good in the ring. He's getting better on the microphone. And it'll be interesting to see if they do decide to put the title on him at some point in time. They didn't do it here. So basically what ended up happening, Cedric hit his springboard jump kick. That he does a handstand springboard jump kick to Enzo. Enzo busting him open and sends him outside. He does the dive outside. Does a diving senton outside. Enzo lands weird to where it makes it seem like his ankle gave way and that he hurt his ankle. So Cedric has to beat the count in, but Enzo's not able to beat the count. So Cedric wins, but of course Enzo ends up keeping the title via the countout. Which they have announced that Enzo will be defending the Cruiserweight title against Cedric Alexander at the Royal Rumble. So we will be getting that to go along with everything. Afterwards, you had Enzo backstage in the trainer's room, and Nia comes in. They're doing this whole little lovey bit between the two of them, and it's not bad. It's not bad. So you have Enzo, like, who just busted his ankle and busted his head open to go along with it. And he is basically trying to play tough guy. He's like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Everything's good. And then as Nia because Nia's just there to check on him. And then Nia goes away and he just like drops his head like, oh, jeez, to go along with it. I thought that was some decent stuff. It will be interesting to see what that ends out playing out as. Does Nia become like a bodyguard for Enzo or something on that side down the line? We'll see how everything goes on that one. So you have Kurt Angle backstage. He's on the phone with someone for the Women's Royal Rumble match. This brings in Cesaro and Sheamus, and they want their title shot. So, and they're trying to play this up as like, oh, you're giving him favoritism. You're making sure that Jason Jordan doesn't have to face us or anything like that. It's like, no, the reason why you didn't get your title shot tonight is because you're getting it at the Rumble. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, we're here to fight tonight, so we want to fight. So then he tells them to go off to the ring. We'll get you some competition, which we end out getting at some point in time. A little bit down the line here. Miz comes in right afterwards, and basically he goes to touch Kurt, and Kurt's like, no. He's just like, hand up, no. Bad. And the Miz kind of goes off on him, and he starts going off on Kurt Angle, saying he wants his rematch, and he has this new unscripted show, and says, you know, he knows how to run a show, USA knows how to run a show, but do you know how to run a show? And it's like, well, you want your rematch. He says he wants his rematch. He wants it at the 25th anniversary of Raw. It's like, okay. It's like, sure. Sure, we'll have Roman Reigns going up against The Miz at the 25th anniversary. Not a bad way of going on that one. So, decent enough segment, kind of setting up for a couple weeks down the line here. Like I said, there wasn't too much that I didn't really like on the show. I thought the show was pretty decent on that side of everything. So up next we had Asuka backstage. She's getting ready for a match for later on in the night. Alexa comes in and basically is like, hey, just here to talk, but is like, oh, you got lucky last week, everything on that side, but you won't be in such a good mood when Nia hears what you said about her. It's like they're trying to play that she's trying to play head games and trying to do this childish stuff to a certain degree to get in everyone's heads again. Great, we're back to that to go along with it, which we'll see a little bit later in a segment. So yeah, that was basically all that. That was kind of a setup for later on in the night with what we ended up seeing. Up next, you had Cesaro and Sheamus going up against Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews. This was decent. This was a pretty decent match. They allow both sides to kind of get in their own stuff and everything. The ending came with a little bit of a surprise. So Sheamus was going after Apollo Crews, who was on the ring apron, and he was going to try to bro kick him or just kick him or something off the ring apron. He gets his foot caught up on the rope because Apollo Crews does a moonsault into Cesaro, and then Titus O'Neil rolls him up to get the victory. So yes, Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews got a victory over Cesaro and Sheamus here, or just they got a victory in general to go along with it. And I like what they did here. I liked what they did here. They made it come as like just a surprise roll-up, kind of an out-of-nowhere thing. It wasn't, it made it look like it was a little bit fluky, but they also gave Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews a clean win to go along with it. I think it came off rather good on that side of everything for what they're going to do. Now, what does that mean for the tag title match? Who knows? If it really means anything, or is it just one of those things that did Cesaro and Sheamus get overconfident? Is that the role that they're trying to play with here? We'll see how that one ends up playing out down the line. Up next, we have Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman doing their own thing. Basically, Heyman's like, we've kind of gotten away from something that is a little bit old school, and it's not for the better. And it was the whole aspect of having more than one challenger. So it's not like, can challenger overcome champion? It's like, how can champion Brock Lesnar get out of said predicament of triple threat matches? Heyman basically says how Lesnar's going to win. Like, here's the predicament, really. It's not whether... the three things that could potentially happen were whether Lesnar pins Kane, Lesnar pins Strowman, or does Lesnar stack them both up and win in general. So they go to leave. This prompts Kane to attack Brock Lesnar from behind. And they start brawling on the outside. This is up on the entrance ramp. They brawl to the backstage. They get backstage, and Strowman basically runs over both of them. He takes Brock Lesnar and chucks him into like a wall of the equipment cases. One of the equipment cases just falls onto Brock, and he falls through the table to go along with it. And then Strowman takes another equipment case and just throws it on Kane. And then afterwards, he goes to another equipment case. And I don't know why. 100% certain. I don't know why they have a grappling hook in there, but apparently they have a grappling hook to do things. And he takes, like, a structure of girders or something and takes the grappling hook. And this was sick looking to go along with it, and basically pulls it down on top of both of them. Now, more than likely they'll have it be where, you know, because they crawl out and everything to go along with it, Lesnar goes on a stretcher and Kane kind of crawls out the other side. But the look on the faces of everyone, including Paul Heyman's, were priceless. Like, this is really good on that side of everything. And he like I said, pulling the set down on him. They'll probably play it off as like, oh, they just barely missed everything on that side. Though it looked like, by the position of where it initially had fallen, that it could have potentially, like if Lesnar was fully down there, would have been probably severely injured where it actually fell at. On that side of everything. But they'll play it off as, I think they'll play it off as, yeah, he pulled it down on top of both of them, but it, due to everything else being kind of on top of them initially, that none of it actually hit them to go along with it. So I think that's how they'll play it off, or something on that side. But overall, I enjoyed the segment. I mostly just because of the whole aspect that he took the set of girder and just pulls it down on everybody. Strowman, he does neat things. He does very neat things. So this brings us to Samoa Joe going up against Rhino. And Samoa Joe ends out winning this match pretty much in a squash match fashion, which prompts him to cut a promo afterwards on Roman Reigns and how he was going to, you know, the cracks in the foundation are there, and when they crumble, I'll be there to basically beat you and take the Intercontinental title. And then I like the way he says it, though what ends up happening later kind of makes it a moot point. We don't know whether or not Samoa Joe's going to be in the Rumble match. He's not doing the Mixed Match Challenge, which I'll talk about after I get done with Raw here a little bit. But I like how he announces his entrance in the Royal Rumble. He basically says, I announce my entrance and participation in the Royal Rumble match. And then they start, and then I think it was Renee. Was it Renee or was it Dasha? No, Renee was on Smackdown this week. I think it was Dasha in the ring. Or Carly Caruso in the ring. Or Charlie Caruso in the ring. And then she starts mention the names, and then she gets the John Cena. And Samoa Joe just takes the mic and says, so, John Cena, yeah. Like, our paths have crossed our paths have crossed in the past. And the mentioning of John Cena kind of boils him up. And he basically says that that John Cena was going to be the first person he eliminates from the Royal Rumble match. So, talking about that though, Samoa Joe apparently has himself a foot injury that might. It took him because he was part of the vote for the Mixed Match Challenge as a superstar to go team up with Bayley, which he was winning, but he gets pulled out because of an injury, which could be plantar fasciitis, which that is an injury that's not. That's a pretty bad one, honestly, as well. Mainly due to the fact that it's one of those injuries that kind of lingers and is always there. It's something that you do with your foot that it's like cartilage in your foot, and you have potential tear and everything to go along with that. You're usually in pain for a good chunk of that time frame, and it's really hard to walk, and it ends up being really hard to walk. And it's one of those injuries that could linger for a little while. So it's one of those things that he could be out for a while, or he could be out just a couple weeks, or he could be out a week, or he might be back Monday. Who knows to go along with it on that side of everything. But it looks like he's injured. He's out of the Mixed Match Challenge side of everything. And he may be out of the Royal Rumble match, too, to go along with it. So again, another unfortunate side of the injury side potentially happening, especially with on Samoa Joe's side. That would really suck. He's been doing some really good work recently. So, let's bring this to the Nia Jax Alexa Bliss segment backstage. So basically, Alexa's buttering up to Nia Jax and says, oh, Asuka said something about you, everything to go along with that. And basically, but in the end, it was like, Nia was like, not buying it. She was playing it off. It's like, oh, she said that? Really? You speak Japanese? Because Asuka doesn't speak English. and then walks off. Even though they showed Asuka speaking English when she was announced as Miz's tag team partner for the Mixed Match Challenge. A little bit of continuity error there to go along with that. So, we do have Asuka coming out for a match next, but she ends up getting attacked by Nia Jax from behind. So, basically Nia Jax wanted to make a statement and is going after Asuka at this point in time to go along with it. She leaves her lying after a rolling senton, and yeah, that was basically it. So they're trying to show vulnerability to Asuka before going into the Royal Rumble match, and implying that Nia is going to be a little bit more dominant to go along with that. So this brings us to the main event of the night, which was the Balor Club going up against Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Jason Jordan. This is a decent enough match on that side of everything. I thought it was a decent enough match. They played it off like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were kind of tagging each other, and Jordan doesn't get in the match in any way, shape, or form outside of the end, where he kind of makes a couple of mistakes where he gets in the ring and causes the referee not to see a tag, and then Seth Rollins has to save him from a drop kick from Finn Balor, which leads to the victory, the coup de grace to Seth Rollins to finish off the match on that side. So basically they're playing it off as like Jordan's mistakes kind of cost them the match, showing him off as being a little bit still kind of a rookie to go along with everything. So that was Monday Night Raw in a nutshell. Well, that probably went up a little bit longer than I really wanted to on that side of everything, but you know, you go through things, and we did have a little bit more talking beforehand before we got into everything. So before we go into SmackDown, 1, overall I thought Raw was pretty good. Raw was a pretty good week. I did rather enjoy that particular Raw. So before we go into SmackDown, which I was not the biggest fan of this week, let's talk a little bit about the Mixed Match Challenge. So they've got all 12 teams for the Mixed Match Challenge. I have it up over here on my other screen, and it's definitely an interesting one. So basically, it's going to be one match a week. They say it's going to be for 12 weeks. So the tournament is a 12-team tournament that, like I said, goes for 12 weeks to go along with everything. So we see one match every week, and they announced the first match as being all the first round matches are going to be Raw versus SmackDown to go along with it. So the first pairing that they have for the first week is going to be Finn Balor and Sasha Banks going up against Shinsuke Nakamura and Natalya. First of all, we lose any of those particular teams within the first week to go along with it. Though they do have a second chance fan vote for the semifinal to go along with everything. So there won't be like a bye at any given time. There'll just be a second chance fan vote. The second week, we have The Miz and Asuka going up against Big E and Carmella. I think I know who's going over in that match on that side of everything. And I think it would be Miz and Asuka. Though they could probably have Big E beat The Miz or something like that if they want the SmackDown team to go over. But it depends on really who goes over with the Shinsuke and Natalya Finn Balor match. Finn Balor Sasha Banks match. The third week is Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss going up against Sami Zayn and Becky Lynch. That could be an interesting one. That could be an interesting match to see how they play that off. And there's actually history there on both sides. So you have the old feud with Bliss and Becky Lynch. You have the old feud with Strowman and Zayn to go along with it, even though Zayn's a heel now to go along with that. The next match you have what is it, Jey Uso? Let me think. Let me see. Jimmy Uso, teaming up with his wife Naomi, going up against Goldust and Alicia Fox. I kind of expect the Jimmy Uso and Naomi to go over that one, though. They could surprise us with that one. The 5th week, you have Elias, who's replacing Samoa Joe, teaming up with Bayley, going up against Rusev and Lana. And then you have Apollo Crews teaming up with Nia Jax, going up against Bobby Roode and Charlotte Flair. You know, looking at this, the potential winners I see are kind of the Asuka Miz team or the Charlotte and Roode team at this point. I guess you could also throw Finn Balor and Sasha Banks in there as well. I could see that one potentially winning. You could probably even throw Shinsuke Nakamura and Natalya as one as well. Or Strowman and Bliss to go along with it. Like, some of the teams that I see there is like, they probably won't win. Matter of fact, I don't see them really going past their first or second round matches. Would probably be like the Zayn and Lynch team, Goldust and Alicia Fox. I expect Bayley and Elias to probably lose in their second round match, though they could have Rusev and Lana go over in that first match too, to go along with it. You know, honestly, I don't like the whole thing about the mixed not mixed match challenge stuff, but you know, the whole mixed tag matches and everything. They usually weren't all that good in the past, but it should be interesting to see basically with like the different talent of nowadays to go along with it and how it comes off. I'll probably watch the first couple matches of this one. I mean, it's gonna be one match a week, and it's on Facebook, so it'll be interesting to see how it comes off on Facebook Watch. Everything on that side, so I'll probably definitely watch it right off the bat. If I end up really liking it, then I'll probably watch every single episode to go along with it on that side of everything. But again, it's just another thing of WWE programming for us to watch, which apparently they want us to be watching at all times. That's the only thing you watch. That's all you watch. Just watch WWE. Which, in all fairness, that's a lot of what I end up watching nowadays to go along with. So, so you kind of go, on that side. Though I do watch a few other shows and try to get a few sporting events to go along with that as well. So, let's get into Smackdown Live. And, oh man, Smackdown was just, it was kind of all over. It was kind of all over the place. So, let's talk about this right off the talk about it right at the beginning. So you have AJ Styles in their interview, and he basically says he said something he shouldn't. He was being sarcastic, but Daniel Bryan decided to take it literal on that one and made the handicap match. So it is what it is. Life's not fair. Whatever. I'm gonna still win at the Royal Rumble. This prompts Owens and Zayn to interrupt. They start cutting a promo on AJ Styles doing the yep thing, and Shane McMahon comes out and he basically makes a 3-on-2 handicap match. So he's playing a reverse role on this one. He makes a match with Owens and Zayn going up against Styles, Nakamura, and Orton. You have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon backstage. They have a stare down. You have Daniel Bryan saying, "Good main event," blah 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 blah. Tensions, they continue to build, but it doesn't really feel like it's going anywhere. It's just kind of going all over the everywhere without really going anywhere. So up next is Becky Lynch going up against Ruby Riott. This is a decent enough match. The only thing that I got really weirded out on this one was that Becky Lynch got her full entrance, and then Charlotte gets a full entrance, and then Naomi gets a full entrance, and then the Riot Squad comes out. That was a little bit weird, where they got all their entrances. It's like, oh, is it a 6-woman? No, it's one-on-one, and it is just them being at ringside. It's like, okay. The match itself was decent enough, but nothing overly memorable, but a decent enough TV match. Becky Lynch going over with a disarmer, so they're continuing on with this whole thing that the Riot Squad is kind of just there. At this point, they're kind of on that back burner of everything. They're not really doing much of anything to go along with it, but they're getting some decent matches. I guess that's okay. I don't know. I mean, they're not really doing much of anything with them. And up until this point that we don't know what they're doing with Absolution on Raw, they had done a lot more with Absolution than they did with the Riot Squad, really. They had the quick, you know, jump coming in, but they didn't really get anything going afterwards to go along with it. Up next, though, you had the Ascension going up against the Bludgeon Brothers. The Bludgeon Brothers win in what was a rather quick match. The Ascension gets a quick start, but the Bludgeon Brothers immediately turn the tides and win quickly. It was under 2 minutes on that side. They did do a little segment with the Ascension and Breezango backstage, or what had been with the Fashion Files, which is now no longer on Smackdown to go along with it. It's now just on WWE.com. It said that they wouldn't be out there. They basically they take out Victor during the match and win the match that way, and then they take out Connor afterwards to go along with it. Not much to it. Basically, the Bludgeon Brothers basically just decimating everybody at this point in time. Now they're decimating the Ascension to go along with it. Here's a couple of good points of SmackDown. I thought they were pretty decent. You had Zack Ryder going up against Mojo Rawley. This was in the first round of the U.S. title tournament. I thought this told a good story between the two of them. I did rather enjoy this one. This was a rather decent match. It was a well-told story about the two of them inside of this match, and wanting to continue on in the tournament, but to also go ahead and but you know, them ending their feud to go along with it, which eventually does happen with Mojo Rawley going over. He's starting to look a little bit more menacing. He's still got a little bit of the whole hype stuff behind him, but he's kind of getting rid of some of that little by little. He was looking more menacing in this match. After the match, him and Rude have a kind of a stare down, which, again, Bobby Roode got himself a full entrance, coming out to just be there. He was in his robe and ring gear, but he wasn't there for a match to go along with it. So that was what it was. But they have a stare down afterwards. I like what they did with this. With this one, and actually I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Mojo Rawley and Bobby Roode end up doing in a match as well. I thought that was some pretty good stuff. I really did. I did rather enjoy this particular match, and it was one of the bright spots on SmackDown. We'll put it on that one. SmackDown was not that good this week. We'll leave it on that side of everything. So, up next, you had Jinder Mahal with a promo, basically talking about his match next week with Xavier Woods. And him wanting to claim a new prize, talking about how he was WWE champion for such a period of time, and now that he's going after a new prize with the U.S. title on that side of everything. Talks about his match next week. I thought that was a decent enough promo. Again, one of the bright spots on SmackDown to go along with it. Mostly due to the fact that other portions of SmackDown were kind of revolving around this whole thing with Shane and Daniel Bryan, and I'm not sure where they're really going with it, because they're kind of giving you mixed signals of what they really are wanting on this side of everything. But good enough, a pretty decent promo from Jinder Mahal. I did actually quite like this. So you had Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable coming out. They basically wanted justice from last week. They run down the crowd, talking about how they got robbed, and they even run the whole thing about the national title game, since they were in Alabama, to go along with it on that side of everything. So yeah, I thought it was like I said, they ran that down, and basically wanted the referees to come out, which brings out Daniel Bryan. So they kind of go in this back and forth, and I thought this was a pretty decent promo, but they have a few little mistakes on that one. It was like you have Daniel Bryan saying things like, yeah, now it's like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but you're also poking fun at management. It's like, we're talking about the refs. Well, you know, we support what the refs are doing, and saying that the decision is final, everything on that side, and that the referee went to the back, even though he didn't. It was a second referee that came out and showed an instant replay. So, little mistake there. and changed his mind and restarted the match on that side of everything. So again, you're playing this. You have them because they start talking about feelings and everything on that side. You have Gable saying his feelings, and you have Shelton Benjamin, who's doing a really good job. Is like, but how do you really feel? And he starts going off on another thing. It's like, you know what? It's like, what do you want us to do? Beat him twice in one night? And Daniel Bryan's like, that's great! In like this overly, like, over sarcastic type area. It's going to be, at this point in time, don't be sarcastic around Daniel Bryan. Because if you're going to be sarcastic, you're going to end up getting a match exactly like that. Because now they have a 2 out of 3 falls match. But then they were thinking about it, I was like, okay. Like, it was a weird enough segment. I did like Gable and Benjamin's promo, but like everything else about it just came off a little bit weird. So yeah. Up next, you had AJ Styles and Randy Orton and Nakamura backstage. Just started off with just AJ and Orton. And they start talking. It's like, yeah, we're on the same page tonight. And, but Orton's like, it's like, yeah, we're on the same page tonight. But after the Rumble, I'm winning. And I'm coming after that title. And AJ's like, okay, good talk. And then, I like this one. Nakamura comes in. And basically walks up and 2-sweets the title. And he goes like, good talk. Walks off. I like that a little bit. Nakamura just, like, when Nakamura does something like that, it's like, oh my god, that was great. Just the way he does things in general. I think it just comes off great. It was absolutely amazing on that portion of it. Decent enough segment on that one. I like the stuff with Nakamura, really. I did. So this leads us to Aiden English going up, or Aiden English and Rusev going up against Breezango. Just like they did with Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews, they had Breezango kind of pick up the surprise victory over Rusev Day. They are literally calling them Rusev Day. I actually kind of like that. I have my Rusev Day shirt. I just don't have it on right now. I do have one though. On that side of everything. But they basically had them pick it up with a surprise roll-up victory. Kind of the same way of going about that one. Not much to really talk about the match. It was a decent enough match on that side of things, but they were playing that off. So you have another segment backstage with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. So basically, they're having... Like, you have Shane talking to Daniel Bryan. It's like, is everything okay? Like personal life okay and everything? Because he's starting to question Daniel Bryan's decisions. Like the 2 out of 3 falls matches, like the Usos won last week. Gable and Benjamin shouldn't even be getting another title opportunity. Now you have a 2 out of 3 falls match. And then talks more about the handicap match for the WWE title, everything on that side of everything. On that one. This is one of those bits that they're trying to set. It's like, what are they trying to really go with? Is Shane the babyface and Daniel Bryan is the heel, or is Daniel Bryan the face and Shane's the heel? And it doesn't really feel like it's really going anywhere. It kind of is going somewhere, but it's going like it's over here one time. Like you have Daniel Bryan last week being overly excited about making a handicap match for the WWE title, but this week he's just like kind of mellowed out. And he even makes mention, it's like, well, you're saying I'm being vindictive. What have you been doing recently? A lot of the decisions you've been making have been vindictive, and they're just going off on this for the time being. So it's like, it's going somewhere, but it's really going nowhere. And that's your main program on Smackdown, and it really isn't going anywhere. And it's making Smackdown kind of blah at this point in time to go along with it. And it's just not one of those things that is coming off all that. It's not really coming off all that good. So this leads us to that main event, which was AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and Shinsuke Nakamura going up against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Not much to really talk about this match. It was kind of The match was kind of all over the place with what they decided to do with this one again. So it's Shane, at an early portion in the match, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens decide, okay, we're done. We're going to just get counted out and we're gone. Shane McMahon comes out before the count-out's even fully done, says this match is now no count-out, restart the match, even though the match hadn't technically finished yet, but I get where they're going on that one. So they go to a commercial break. They come back. When they come back, there's they have a few more minutes of doing everything, and eventually Owens comes in with a chair and hits everybody with it, getting them DQ'd. And as they go to leave again, Shane McMahon comes back out with his entrance music hitting again, and makes it a no DQ and anything goes match. So they basically Styles, Orton, and Nakamura kind of destroy. AJ chases off Kevin Owens, and then Nakamura and Orton basically hit their finishers on Sami Zayn to finish off the match. They also had this this spot where apparently Randy Orton, doing this table spot now with the backdrop, is kind of a staple of his now. He drops Sami Zayn on there, but it looked like he dropped him on the monitor to go along with it. It looked like it hurt Sami Zayn. It looked like it hurt just a little bit more this time around on this one. But like I said, Kinshasa, RKO, done. And that's pretty much SmackDown. That match was kind of all over the place. Kind of with them just, throwing everything together, everything on that side of it to go along with it. It was one of those bits that, yeah, it kind of was what it was on that side of everything. And that's really all I got to say about it. I did not really... This is one of those few times, I generally enjoy most of the shows in some way, shape, or form. I'm not very hard to please. We'll leave it at that. But this week's show was kind of blah. It's kind of boring, honestly. So it kind of was what it was. So let's get away from SmackDown then. Well, as a matter of fact, I think I talked about all the new stuff, so we're not gonna, or all the new stuff I wanted to talk about. So let's get into WWE NXT for January 10th, as I'm bringing up everything again, just kind of checking my time and everything on that side. But we're going into WWE NXT for January the 10th, 2018. Still have 17 on my notes. I need to have 18 there. This is the first. Oh, this is the first set that we have of NXT this year as well. So the last week's show was just kind of a year in review, and now we're going into their new year and new set of content. This is the stuff that they have been filming in Atlanta, so it looked a little bit different. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be where they filmed WCW Saturday night. They didn't really go with that type of setup and everything on that side, but it was interesting to see it in that area again. So it was actually a fairly good show, and I did rather enjoy it. I thought it was a rather good show. So they started off with a backstage promo with the Undisputed Era, basically all of them talking about how 2018. How they ended 2017 and 2018 was going to be their year. Decent enough promo. You have Adam Cole basically saying it's like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish have the tag team titles, and nothing's going to stop me from getting the NXT title. So he's looking to go after the NXT title. So the first match, you have Shayna Baszler going up against Dakota Kai. So Shayna Baszler making her debut on NXT after her time in the Mae Young Classic, everything on that side. Dakota Kai was also in the Mae Young Classic to go along with it. They set this up through a training video that they had where Shayna went a little bit too far in the terms of showing a submission hold to someone else. So Dakota Kai wants a match with her on that side. So basically, Shayna destroys Dakota, and mostly with her arm. kind of goes over the arm, everything on that side. The match ends out being stopped really quickly. Shayna Baszler wins the match by stoppage, by practically taking Dakota Kai's arm. And this is an interesting one because just the way that it came off, it literally looked like she destroyed her arm. So she was coming off like a bully throughout the entire match on that, and then kicks her arm while she has it laying on the ground and makes it look like she's like broken it or destroyed it on that side of everything. And Dakota Kai herself did a good job of selling the entire thing to go along with it. As she's there selling that, afterwards, Shayna decides to go ahead. It's like, okay, I haven't had enough. I'm going to continue on with this little bully type thing she's doing. And she goes and basically starts choking out Dakota, which prompts Ember Moon to come out, and that's where she's like, okay, I'm done. And that's where Baszler goes away. Decent enough stuff here. And like I said, they had a point where, they showed her kicking the arm on replay, and the thing looks devastating. Like the way she kicked the arm and the way that it was supposed to be going, and you would assume Dakota's very limber and everything on that side. She's like she's okay, and she's like okay actually, but like the way that they made it look was devastating looking, and that's a good sign. That's a very good sign of where they're probably going with Shayna down in the NXT side of everything. They're gonna make her like this devastating force, but they're also having her come off as kind of a bully to go along with it. You had an AOP promo, you had an Authors of Pain promo where you don't hear much from Paul Ellering, which gives you an indication whether or not they're going to be going to the main roster anytime soon. So they may be prepping them for that. So this was like one of the first times we heard from Akam and Razor throughout the entire time. You assume that is going to be an indication that Paul Ellering might not be going with them to the main roster, which will be kind of sad. I kind of like Paul Ellering, but if he doesn't feel like he can do the main roster stuff, then he shouldn't do it, and he should think on that side beforehand. But decent enough promo. I thought this was a pretty good promo from both sides. They sounded very threatening, everything on that side. Paul Ellering kind of finishes off the promo to go along with it. I thought it was a decent enough promo. They want to challenge for the titles again, which we get to see a little bit, which we get to kind of get an eye of where they're going with that a little bit later on. You had William Regal approaches Shayna Baszler backstage. Regal basically says, it's like, I get you want a title match, but this is not how you do it. So he basically doesn't like her tactics, realizes that she's basically being a bully backstage, or being a bully about it. I love how Baszler just kind of brushes it off. It's like, are we done here? Just walks away. And I like how that one came off. You had Cassius Ohno going up against Real Mendoza. This is a pretty good match between them. Mendoza's been doing some decent matches down there. He hasn't really been doing much in terms of character work. He's kind of just being a hand down there. And Cassius Ohno himself, he's been putting on good matches. And this is another good one to go along with it. Cassius Ohno does go over in this match with a rolling elbow. Like I said, just decent enough match here. I thought it was a pretty good one. Up next, we have Zelina Vega basically doing a press conference, or doing like a kind of a press conference backstage, or talking with reporters or anything like that, and talking how, like, Johnny Gargano, he got lucky. He took advantage of a situation. He doesn't deserve his spot for the takeover match, and how how Andrade Cien Almas has already beaten him twice, and they'll just beat him a third time to go along with it. Good stuff here. Zelina Vega is very good on the mic. She's been a good mouthpiece for Andrade Cien Almas on this side of everything, and I think they've done a really good job of kind of turning Andrade around after where he had started in NXT on that side. Right after this, you had Johnny Gargano have an interview backstage, basically talking about his match with Andrade. and he gets interrupted by the Velveteen Dream. And I like how Velveteen Dream comes in on this one. It's like, he walks in and is like, say it. Say it. And it's not referring to him saying his name. It's like he wants him to say thank you because he was out during this time. That was supposed to be his spot, and Gargano took it. So no one believes at this point in time that Gargano truly deserves his spot at the NXT TakeOver show. And basically Velveteen Dream wants his chance at Gargano and basically wanting that spot. It's like, I want my chance. And we'll see how this one plays off. I think they do. I'm not sure. They'll probably do this where it's like, okay, Gargano has to earn a spot one more time. He has to beat Velveteen Dream, who was supposed to be in that turn, but was out with an injury at that time. Up next, you had the Street Profits backstage, who were really, like, they were really going, they were even going more hyped up than they were before on this one. So they're kind of doing their own little talk show type thing. So they're trying to find William Regal. They find his office. And they kind of go in there. They start talking with him. It's like, oh, we want a tag title shot, everything on this side. So it's like, Regal's kind of playing along with it and trying to do, like, dancing and playing along with that as well with the whole Street Profits. I'm enjoying what the Street Profits are doing. I actually am. I think they're doing really good stuff on that side of everything. And then Regal goes off and says, it's like, okay, I can't just give you a tag title match, but I will make a #1 contenders match next week with you guys going up against the Authors of Pain. And it's like, and they're like, all right. They were actually kind of happy about that, even though they're going up against the Authors of Pain on that side of everything. Up next, you had Lio Rush going up against Lars Sullivan. This was one of those matches. It was a rather quick match. But you have Lio Rush kind of trying to use his speed to get around Lars Sullivan throughout the entire thing. And we'll fully go along with this one. First of all, Lars Sullivan entrance. I like it. I like what they do with it. They turn out all the lights and they have this giant spotlight. And he stands in the right spot in the ring that kind of casts this ominous silhouette. Like the whole, like, you know how they use when they have a mystery opponent? In the graphics, they have like just a black silhouette there. It's almost like that, but then like lights come on and you have this menacing figure coming out to go along with it. I like his entrance. So, like I said, Lio Rush tries to use his speed throughout this one, but it basically ends out not working. So eventually Lars Sullivan catches Lio Rush and eventually does the freak accident off of the second rope to Lio Rush to basically pick up the victory. Lars cuts a promo after the match basically saying, it's like, I've met a force now that, it's like I've met another force. And it doesn't scare him, it excites him, and he wants Killian Dane. So basically he's challenging Killian Dane to a match somewhere down the line here, which we'll probably get at TakeOver. One would have to assume we would get that match at TakeOver. So this leads us actually right before the main event. You have the Undisputed Era backstage, and they've taken out Sanity once again. They show them beating up Eric Young and finishing off Eric Young, but then they show Alexander Wolf already taken out and Killian Dane already taken out as they go to the ring. So this leads us to that main event. First of all, you have Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. They come out there. They kind of mock Sanity, everything on that one. And you have Nikki Cross come out. And she has to be held back by like 2 different referees, everything to go along with this one. It actually was great. The crowd popped big for this. And it played off really well with the whole factor that Nikki Cross will do almost anything with Sanity, including going after like the Undisputed Era by herself. Just by herself, she'll go after them. But she gets held back. Eventually, she gets taken back. So you had William Regal come out. And this kind of was... The way this came off was a little bit house showish, but it came off pretty good as well. So Regal comes out. He's angry at what's going on. you know, they took out the Undisputed, or they took out Sanity. They're mocking them in the ring, everything on that side. Regal comes out, is like, you will defend your tag team titles tonight. And before he even utters another word, Roderick Strong comes out. He comes out with a mic. And it's like, Regal, I'll fight them. Matter of fact, let me go back there and get them. And before he even finishes, Aleister Black comes out. And it's like, I'll be your partner. I want to fight him too. And it's like, and match made. So it turns out to be Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly going up against Roderick Strong and Aleister Black. This is a pretty good match. I did rather enjoy the match itself. I thought it was a good way of kind of telling where they're going with the kind of going with the storylines and everything on that side of everything. You basically have Aleister Black kind of try to get the victory over them, but Adam Cole kind of attacks does come out and attack Aleister Black behind the referee, and he starts going after Adam Cole in the ring, which allows Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly to finish off Roderick Strong. To go along with that, and you got, it's like, also, like, as the three's happening, Aleister Black turns around, is like, he gives that weird looking face, or he gives like a face like, one of those old crap moments, and he basically gets in the ring after the match, which I thought was a pretty good match, and tries to get a little bit of payback. He goes after Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, gains the advantage, but Adam Cole throws him into the post, and they leave him lying after a Death Valley driver from Adam Cole to Aleister Black on a chair. So this was an indication of where they were going about this. So as Undisputed Era is leaving, it's looking like you're looking at a Adam Cole Aleister Black match somewhere down the line. Regal comes out. This is the most we've probably seen Regal on an episode of NXT in quite some time to go along with it. And I like how he goes about this. It's like Philadelphia has a history of being extreme. And you knew exactly where they're going with this one. And, the chair being used in it as well is kind of the story piece of saying, hey, this is going to be a stipulation match to go along with it. It's like that it was going to be Adam Cole going up against Aleister Black in an Extreme Rules match at NXT TakeOver. And I like how initially it's like, you have Adam Cole, like, he had that crazy reaction about the War Games announcement where he goes like, War Games? And he kind of does that again with, like, it's like, and then he kind of smiles. It's like, wait a minute, I can use these two guys. Thank you, Regal. And it kind of plays off on that one to go along with it. I thought it was pretty good. I did rather enjoy NXT this week. On that side of everything. I thought it was a pretty good one to go along with it. And we're starting to get an idea of where they're going for the next NXT TakeOver. We know, as of right now, we know now that it is Aleister Black and Adam Cole in an Extreme Rules match. And we know it's Gargano and Almas for the title. So we know the two matches. It looks like we're going to get Killian Dane and Lars Sullivan at that. It looks like we'll probably get it at some point, or we'll get it at that show, and we'll probably have they'll have the tag titles and the women's title. You would have to assume that they're going for a match with Shayna Baszler going up against Ember Moon. Be interesting to see how that one comes off. And I guess we have, technically, Sanity needs to get their rematch, so maybe we're getting another triple threat in the terms of the tag title situation. We'll see how that one plays off on that side, though, with everything. But overall, good NXT this week. At least I thought it was. So, that's pretty much everything this week. I don't really have anything else for you guys. We kind of went through the news stuff already for everything. So I guess we will sign off this week. Again, I thank you guys for tuning in. If you watch this a little bit later on, thank you for watching the video. For anyone who tuned in during the during the live stream itself. Teddy Hart, who stuck around for a decent portion of it on that one. We had a little bit of chatting going along with that one. Sometimes I get a little bit sidetracked by the chat, but that is fine as well. I like interacting with people while we're doing this to go along with it. I think that makes this a little bit more interesting and fun to go along with everything. So, with that being said, everyone, I thank you guys for watching. I thank you guys for whomever tuned in during the live stream side of everything. And I thank you guys for watching if you're watching the videos later to go along with it. And I got stumbling over my words, though I was kind of doing that throughout a good portion of the show as well. But again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We will see you guys next week with another set of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. Take care. Have a good one.